favorite Bible story today. And it's a Bible story that, even if you know nothing about Christianity, more than once in your life you've probably heard about David and Goliath. You've heard about this story of a giant and this little kid that went up against him. And preaching this story, there's probably no better known story from Scripture in the Old Testament that when you preach it, there's a little bit of hesitation because it is such a great story in and of itself. But we're going back to this idea of loving God with all of our hearts 2 weeks ago, all of our minds, all of our heads last week, and this week, all of our hands. That's coming out of Mark chapter 12. So again, we're going to start there. Mark chapter 12, we're going to read this passage again, and we're going to look at what it means to love God with all of our hands today. So, Mark chapter 12, verse 28, it starts off, and it says this. One of the teachers of the law came, this is the scribe, and heard them debating. Noticing that Jesus had given them a good answer, he asked him, of all the commandments, which is the most important? The most important one, Jesus answered, is this. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your mind, and with all of your strength. The second is this. Love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. Well said, teacher, the man replied. You are right in saying that God is one, and there is no other but Him. To love Him with all of your heart, with all of your understanding, with all of your strength. To love your neighbor as yourself is more important than all the burnt offerings and sacrifices. When Jesus saw that he had answered wisely, he said to him, you are not far from the kingdom of God. And from then on, no one dared to ask him any more questions. So like I said, 2 weeks ago we talked about what does it mean to love God with all of our hearts. Last week, what does it mean to love God with our heads, all of our understanding? And this week, what does it mean to love God with all of your strength, all of your hands? God has given you these hands. God has given you your strength. What are you doing with it to love Him? How are we loving God with all of our strength? I want to preface the story of David and Goliath a little bit. I want to just get your minds set into this battle. So Israel and Saul's army is on one hill. And on the other hill is the Philistine army. And there's this great valley between the two. There's two armies. There's one valley and there's one giant. The Philistines had this giant. He was about 9 feet, 9 inches tall. That's a massive man. He wore a coat of armor that weighed about 150 pounds. His spearhead weighed about 15 pounds. I threw javelin, and that's like 2. Okay? This dude was big, he was bad, and he would come up every day for 40 days. He'd walk to the battle line, and he'd stand in defiance of the entire army of Israel, and he'd say, who are you? And I want to do the voice that I do with my girls, because this is their favorite Bible story. Like, every time that they wanted me to read it, I'm like, Dad. So it's like, I am Goliath, strong and mighty. Who is brave enough to fight me? And that's how I tell the story, right? They loved it. Like, that's pretty good. Like, Goliath is coming up against Israel, but he's not just taunting them. He's not just saying, oh, I'm so great. He's saying, you're not. You're not great. Your God is not great. Who are you to come up against me? I defy you, Israel. This is the same army that Joshua marched around Jericho and the walls fell. This is the same army that saw God provide miracle after miracle as they were conquering the promised land. They saw God do amazing things. And now they're scared of this one giant, the entire army. But he kept throwing threats out there. He kept saying, if there is one man who is brave enough to come after me and fight me, then we will give up if they win. That's defiance. So that's the story that we're coming into. We have The same Israel that God had done miracle after miracle with. And now they're in fear of this, albeit he was an extremely large man. They're in fear of one man. Enter the story, a young man that we know as the little David, shepherd of sheep. And that's pretty much what he had done at this point. He had played the lyre for King Saul before. So he was a musician. We know he was a musician. But most of the time, he was spending his time watching his dad's sheep. He was a shepherd. He was the youngest of Jesse's boys. And here he is, about 12 years old, and he wants to go. He wants to check on his brothers who went out with King Saul in the army. He wants to get an update for his dad. And so we're going to pick up the story there, starting in verse 20. This is 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 20. It says, early in the morning, David left the flock in the care of a shepherd. So he left his dad's sheep in the care of another shepherd, loaded up, and set out as Jesse had directed. Notice he was going on his father's direction. He reached the camp as the army was about to go out to its battle positions, shouting the war cry. Israel and the Philistines were drawing up their lines, facing each other. David left his things with the keeper of supplies, ran to the battle lines, and asked his brothers how they were. As he was walking with them, Goliath, the Philistine champion from Gath, stepped out from his lines and shouted his usual defiance. "I am Goliath, strong and mighty." And David heard it. Whenever the Israelites saw the man, they all fled from him in great fear. Now the Israelites had been saying, "Do you see how this man keeps coming out? He comes out to defy Israel. The king will give great wealth to the man who kills him. He will also give him his daughter in marriage, and will exempt his family from taxes in Israel." David asked the men standing near him, "What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" They repeated to him what they had been saying and told him, "This is what will be done for the man who kills him." The very first thing we need to understand if we are going to love God with all of our hands, number one, we have to see a need. And that's exactly what David did. He went out to the battle lines and he saw a need. David asked the men staring near him, "What will be done for this man? What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel?" He saw that there was a problem. There was this guy who was defying Israel, and God put inside his soul, like I talked about last week, God has given you this idea, this passion, and what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? And so he's asking questions. What will be done for the man who removes this disgrace? And then he goes right after Goliath and he says, "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine?" Now, I don't know about you, but any man that comes after another man's, that's a threat. All right? We're not talking, this is a little kid who's throwing big threats. He's got a big mouth. What will be done? Who's going to remove this disgrace from Israel? And here we go. As soon as he sees this need, as soon as he saw a need, and he wanted to do something about the need, what happens to every single person when you see something that needs to be done, and you go to try to do something about it? Enter the hate. Right? As soon as you try to do something about somebody, people are going to come and attack you. And so let's go back to the story. Let's read the story. It starts again in verse 28. When Eliab, David's older brother, heard him speaking with the man, he burned with anger at him and asked, "Why have you come down here? And with whom do you lead those few sheep in the wilderness? I know how conceited you are, and I know how wicked your heart is. You came down here only to watch the battle." I know you did. That's why you came down here. David answered, "Now what have I done?" David said, "Can I even speak?" He then turned away to someone else and brought up the same matter. And then men answered him as before. What David had said was overheard and reported to Saul. And Saul sent for him. David said to Saul, "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go out and fight him." Saul replied, "You're not able to go out and fight this Philistine and fight him. Against this Philistine and fight him, you are only a young man, and he's been a warrior from his youth." Guys, if you want to serve God with all of your hands, if you want to get in there and serve Him with all of your strength, the very first thing, once you see a need, people are going to try to stop you. It's the enemy's tactic number one. He's going to try to go after, number one, your integrity, just like his brother did. David's older brother, he's the oldest brother, comes in and he says, "Aha, I know who you are. I know how wicked you are. I know the things that you've done, David. I know why you're here. You're not really here to do anything about this. You're here because you want to see the battle." He's attacking his integrity. He's attacking his character. And that's exactly what Satan does with us. Every time that God puts something in your heart and you see a need you want to go after it, people are going to come up and say, "I know what you've done." Maybe there's a voice inside you said, "You're not able to do that. They don't know who you are. Who are you to come up against this?" And when David, this is what I love about the story, David just ignored his brother and he went and found somebody else. And he kept telling him, "What's going to be done? Who's going to be doing something about this?" Until the king heard about it. And what happens when the king hears about it? The king attacked his ability. He said, "You can't do it. You're just a little kid. Who are you to go up against this great warrior?" Because if Satan can't attack your integrity because of what you've done in the past, and you know that God's put this in you, this desire in your soul, and you want to serve Him with all of your heart, then He's going to attack your ability. You can't do it. You just can't be. Look how big He is. How small you are. You can't do it. That's what King Saul said to David. You're not able to go up against him. You can't do it. How many times in our lives have we been told these lies? We need to evade the hate. I like the evade hate, because what David did when his brother came up against him is he just deflected it. I don't need to listen to you. I know my God has put this desire in my heart. I know that something needs to be done about this situation. I'm just going to evade it. I'm going to go right around this hate with my brother. I know that God wants me to do something about this. He found somebody else, and then he went into the king's presence, and the king said, "I don't think you can do it. You can't do it." But then he evades the king's hate. He evades it by saying, "But I know that I can." You want to know how you can, in any situation, if God has asked you to do something, regardless of what He's asked you to do, you need to remember His faithfulness. And that's what we're going to talk about next. This is the next part of the story. David goes right to remembering God's faithfulness. In verse 34, but David said to Saul, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it. I struck it and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by the hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of the Philistine." Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with you." See, if God has asked you to do something, He's going to prepare you for the battle that's ahead. It might be scary. You might be going up against a giant. You might be going up against something that you've never faced before. But by remembering the battles that you have already won, that God has already let you be successful and victorious in, you can look forward to the next battle. And what I love about this battle is David saw the victory before he even entered it. Here's a little spoiler alert. David kills Goliath. David saw the victory. He said, I love his answer. He says, "This uncircumcised Philistine will be exactly exactly as he was with the lion and the bear. God will rescue me from the hands of this guy, just like he rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear. What battles has God brought you through? What past battles that you thought were giants at the time has God brought you through? Because each one of us, I'm sure, when the bear was in the camp and it was taking one of David's sheep, it was like, oh my goodness moment. Like, come on, he's a young kid. This is a 12-year-old kid now. Who knows how old he was when he was coming up against the lion or the bear? But here's this lion that's got one of his sheep, or here's a bear that's got one of his sheep, and he's going to go after it. He says, well, I struck it, and then turned on me, and then I killed it. Because the Lord delivered me. What has God delivered you from? By remembering God's faithfulness, you can look towards your next mountain, and you can overcome it. But here's a word of caution. One of my favorite stories, one of my favorite movies, is the Indiana Jones series. Okay, I like it. It's weird. But at the beginning of every Indiana Jones movie, right? Maybe you've never noticed this before, but the Paramount logo has a big mountain right there, right? And at the beginning of every Indiana Jones movie, that Paramount logo, it washes away and it enters the scene of the movie. And whether that's the Himalayan mountains or the very first three movies, it was always a mountain that represented. But enter the kingdom of the crystal skull. And all the bad things about that movie, it doesn't matter. The coolest thing about that is the very, very first scene of the movie is the Paramount logo bleeds out and enters not a huge hill like the Himalayan mountains. It's just a little, like a molehill. It wasn't a molehill. What it really was a gopher hole. And this gopher's coming up out of the ground. You'd be like, what are you talking about this child? I have a point. I promise. I have a point. So many of us see these huge mountains in front of us, and we think it's impossible to climb that thing. But when we look back in our past, we see that those past mountains were just molehills. Guys, it's not the mountains that trip us up. It's by not remembering what God has already brought you through. It's the molehills that will trip you up. You can climb any mountain as long as you take one step after another, and if you remember God's faithfulness. What has God brought you through? What is the last battle that He has brought you through, that He has proved Himself faithful? That's what's going to allow you to be faithful in the battle that you're facing right now. The reason that David was able to face Goliath and know that God was going to give him victory is because he had already conquered the bear and conquered the lion. I'm sure there were Goliath moments at the time. And guess what David's getting? This is David's reward for beating Goliath. It was another battle. Every time you beat a battle, it's proving God's faithfulness for the next one that you're going to face. Remember God's faithfulness in the molehills. Remember every time He has let you overcome something, because it's going to give you strength and encouragement to face the next battle. Whatever that next battle is, remember His faithfulness. Because if Satan can't get you distracted on your integrity or distracted by going after your ability, he's going to get you distracted by the mountain that's in front of you. Remember what God has brought you through. So number one, if you're going to love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, is you got to see a need, you got to faith to hate, you got to remember God's faithfulness. Let's go back to the story. There's a lot more here. 1 Samuel 17:38. Then Saul dressed David in his own tunic. He put a coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. Now, first off, this is kind of crazy. This is kind of funny to me. You have the king dressing a 12-year-old boy in his armor because he's thinking, this kid's just crazy. He's crazy, but he believes God and he's going to deliver him from battle, but I'm going to give him everything. I'm going to give him everything in my power to see if he's successful. And so then King Saul, dressed even in his own tunic, he put his coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. David fastened on his sword over the tunic and tried walking around because he was unused to them. I cannot go in these, he said to Saul, because I'm not used to them. So he took them off. Then he took his staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, put them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag, and with his sling in his hand, he approached the Philistine. I just get this awesome picture of King Saul dressing this little boy, and he's punking around. And he said, he can't even move. He says to us, I can't go out in these. I can't do this. Wearing this stuff. I can't even move. So he takes them off. He takes it off. And what's he do? He goes down to the creek and he picks up 5 smooth stones. That brings us to the fourth point that I want to bring up today. Loving God with all of our hands means to visualize what's inside the box. We've been taught, especially people my age and a little younger, to think outside the box. Right? That's a phrase that comes to our minds a lot. Think outside the box. When it comes to faith, when it comes to what God wants you to do, I want you to visualize, not what's outside the box. Visualize what God has already given you. The resources He has already put in your hands. Because here's the point of the story. When David put on Saul's armor and tried to do something that looked like a good idea, he couldn't even move. He had to see what God had already given him to notice that winning this battle, winning this battle that was in front of him wasn't going to be done outside the box thinking. It was going to be done with what God has already given him. What had God already given him? He had given him a sling. All he needed was ammunition. All he needed was to find the ammunition for what God has already given him, the sling, and the skill of this sling. So he takes off, he sheds off King Saul's armor, and he takes up what he has already been given, and then goes to the battle. What has God given you? What resources has God put in your life? You might think, this is a little bit silly, Joe. What do you mean? God's already given you. I want to tell you that the miracle and God's provision, yes, is already in what He has already given you. You don't need anything else. God has already given you all the resources you need right now to beat the battle that you're facing. Let me prove it. Let's go to the New Testament. In Matthew chapter 15. I'm not sure this is going to be up on the screen. Sorry, Matthew chapter 14. Starting in verse 13, it says this. When Jesus heard what had happened, He withdrew by boat privately to a solitary place. Hearing this, the crowds followed Him on foot from the towns. When Jesus withdrew because John the Baptist, his body had just been beheaded. So there's this battle that John just faced, and he lost his life. When Jesus heard about it, He withdrew by boat privately, went to a solitary place, but the crowd that He had been ministering to followed Him. When Jesus landed and saw that large crowd, He had compassion on them, and then He healed their sick. As evening approached, the disciples came to Him and said, "This is a remote place. It's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food." Jesus replied, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." "We have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish," they answered. "Bring them here to me," He said. And he directed the people to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, He gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then He gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. They all ate. They were all disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. The number of those who ate was about 5,000 men, not counting women and children. Counting women and children, figure 10,000 people. 5 loaves of bread, 2 fish. The miracle that God wants to do in your life is not going to be you asking for something else. The miracle that God wants to do in your life is going to be done by asking and visualizing what He has already given you. What are the resources? What are the gifts? What are the talents? What are the abilities that He has already given you now? And visualize what you can do with those things in your life. Well, you might say, I don't have anything. Do you have a wife? What could your wife be? What could your wife be? Do you have children? What could your children be? What could your children become? Guys, what things in your life has God given you? Visualize what they could be. Visualize what you could do with them. Because the miracle has already been provided. You just have to trust God. You have to visualize what He can do. Jesus saw this wasn't a problem. There's 10,000 people here. It's not a problem. I got 5 loaves of bread. I got 2 fish. I'm going to thank God for what He's given. And we're going to have communion. And everybody ate. It was a miracle. Yes, it's a miracle. But God provides miracles in what He has already given you. You just have to see it. By faith, believe it. David went up against a giant, not in Saul's armor, not in something that wasn't his. He had already been given the skill, and he had already had the sling in his shepherd pouch. He just needed the ammunition. So he went down and he picked up 5 stones. And that's what he was going up to battle with. Guys, every single one of us, I don't want to preach too much on this, but you can go to the parable of the talents in Matthew chapter 25. Every one of us has been given gifts, given abilities, given different resources. What are the resources, gifts, and abilities that God has already put inside of your life? Because some He gives more, some He gives less. But it's all up to us to be faithful with what God has already given us. And at the end, we get to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. You are faithful with what I've given you. Not with what you ask for more, it's what I have already given you. The miracle is in His provision already. So I want you to look at your life. Find out the resources that God has already given you. And what can I do with these things? What can God do? That's why I'm so excited about this open mic that's coming up. We don't have to do too much. We already have people that are experienced and gifted in music. We have an amazing facility. We just have to go out and invite people into that. What are the resources? What are the things that God has given you? Visualize what is inside the box because the miracle is in the provision. He's already provided it. Back to the story in 1 Samuel. So David goes down. He doesn't dress in Saul's armor. He picks up the 5 stones. And then in verse 41. Meanwhile, while David's getting ready, the Philistine, with his shield bearer in front of him, kept coming closer to David. He looked David over and saw that he was little more than a boy, glowing with health and handsome. And he despised him. If I was a giant, I would too. He said to David, "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. "Come here," he said, "and I will give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals." David said to the Philistine, "You come against me with a sword and a spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." Here's the victory statement. David already saw the victory before he went into battle. He says, "And this day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head. This very day I will give the carcass of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those who gather here will know that it is not by a sword or spear that the Lord saves. For the battle is the Lord's, and He will give all of you into our hands." As the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly towards the battle line to meet him. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead and he fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone. Without a sword in his hand, he struck down the Philistine and killed him. So David ran, stood over him. He took hold of the Philistine's sword and drew it from his sheath. And after he killed him, he cut off his head with a sword. Now the children's books don't read that part. But David promised the Philistine when he went up into battle. David saw the victory. He said, listen, this day the Lord will give me victory and I will cut your head off. And they went and did it. And then, to finish the story, the whole army is behind David and they go out and they take care of the Philistine army. They're defeated in battle. Because of one boy's courage. One boy saw a need and he wanted to do something about it. One boy not only saw the need, he evaded the hate. He remembered what God had already done in his life. He visualized the resources, the abilities, and everything that he already had. And then he ran. He engaged in the battle. He ran into the battle. As the Philistine moved closer to attacking David, ran. And I think here's where so many of us get caught up. God has given us a passion. God has given us a dream. God has allowed us to evade the hate. And He's allowed us to not think about distractions. And we're getting ready to go to the battle. We remembered His faithfulness. We can see what resources that He's already given us. But then we don't engage the battle. We stop short of running into battle. I want to encourage you today. If you want to serve God with all of your heart, with all of your mind, with all of your strength, with all of your hands, to run into battle. Because that's what it is all about. It's all about serving Him with your hands. I wanted you guys to remember this really easily. How can I love God with all of my hands? I can serve Him. What is He asking you to do? What passion is He giving you? What need do you see? How can you bypass, evade all the hate that's around you? Remember His faithfulness. Visualize the resources He's already given you, and then engage the battle. Go after it. I think every single one of us. I was so encouraged by this story when I looked at it. I'm like, God, you breathed new life into the story that I've read 150 times to my little girls. It's not just about defeating a giant. It's not just about God providing miracle after miracle. But it's about us seeing a need. What has God put inside of your mind that you can do something about? What does He want you to do? I'm reminded of this Bible study we've been doing on Wednesday nights. We just finished up of Joshua. And I'm thinking about Caleb. Caleb was 86 years old. And he had still yet to conquer the promised land that God had promised him through Moses. And so what's he do? He says to Joshua at 86, I am just as strong today as I was when I was in my 40s. Don't let me go after it. Let me go after it. Let me conquer that hill. I know that God has given me the victory. Let me pray for you. And we'll have the team come back forward. Lead us in